Hello and welcome to my channel, the Grape Jelly Library. My name is Flo and we are not in the library today. We are in the parlor, so that could only mean one thing. Another episode of Where Are They Buried and How Did They Die? The book that I am just periodically and sporadically reading. Written by Tod Benoit. Over 400 celebrity personalities in this book, and Tod has gone ahead and done his research and told us how these personalities have passed away and where you can find their final resting place. So I was going in order, but if I do that, then we're gonna have huge chunks of things, such as the first chapter is sports. So we're gonna be doing all sports, and I thought maybe it would be a little bit more fun to just, skip around. So that's what I'm gonna do. How about I'll just go like this, and then whoever I land on. Diane Fossey. Let's find out about her. I'm not too familiar, but she seems vaguely. January 16th, 1932, December 27th, 1985. In 1967, Diane Fossey established the Kariosk Research Center in Rwanda's Volcano National Park, and from this primitive and isolated rainforest camp, she studied mountain gorillas for almost 20 years. Okay, that's why. Diane's methodology was not to study the apes from afar, but rather to ingratiate herself into their society as a peripheral quasi-member. Thus, she put together a first-hand chronicle of the elusive apes world. By the 1970s, though, poachers had uncovered markets wherein gorilla babies could be sold for exhibition, and they were also able to command high black market prices for the trophy heads. You know what? I just have to say, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. The appendages were made into black. I have to read this again. This is disturbing. By the 1970s, though, poachers had uncovered markets wherein gorilla babies could be sold for exhibition, and they were also able to command high black market prices for the trophy heads, hands, and feet of adults. The appendages were made into ashtrays, of all things. What the heck? Really? Recognizing the threat posed to the gorilla fragile population, Diane fought against the poachers. Rwandan authorities, however, did not consider poaching a priority, nor did they have adequate resources to control it. Fears for the safety of her own gorilla family were justified in 1978 when her most darling gorilla, Digit, was killed. His hands and feet had been hacked off and other members of his family killed too. This is tough for me. Diane buried the massacred gorillas in a cemetery she built by her camp and steeled herself to become a vigilante of sorts, engaging in an all-consuming, unconventional war against the poachers. Circulating stories that she was a sorceress who could curse her enemies, she played the role of a witch around suspected poachers and fueled the notion that she had the power to damn them. Go Diane. She organized anti-poaching patrols and placed bounties on poachers' heads. On one occasion, she abducted the child of a local woman suspected of stealing a gorilla baby and offered to exchange hostages. Wow. Meanwhile, her Western colleagues wondered if Diane had gone insane. Animosity between Diane and the poachers reached a boiling point, and finally, at age 53, Diane was found dead at her tent compound, her body hacked to death by machete. No arrests were ever made, but conventional wisdom suggests that the killer or killers likely came from the poachers' ranks. Fittingly, she was buried in her own guerrilla graveyard near her beloved friend Digit. Diane's headstone summarizes her life. Diane Fossey, 1932 to 1985. No one loved gorillas more. Deep within Africa's Virunga Mountains, the Kariosk Research Center and its gorilla graveyard lie in Rwanda, south of the base of Mount Vyosk and Volcanoes National Park, 2 miles from the border with the Democratic Republic of the Congo, formerly Zaire. In the 1990s, a civil war and genocide racked the Rwandan countryside and Virunga National Park, filled with refugees, some of who killed gorillas for food, while Diane's camp was completely looted and largely destroyed. Later, illegal logging decimated large areas of the park, but despite such adversity, Diane's Gorilla Fund International soldiered on, and remarkably, the population of mountain gorillas in the park has today more than doubled from its low point of 255 in 1981. Ugh. All right, just a page, right? At random. Who do we have? Oh, Natalie Wood. Okay, July 20th, 1938, November 29th, 1981. Natalie Wood was only 4 years old when she began her Hollywood career, and this little darling became one of the very few child actors who made a successful transition to adult stardom. Born Natasha Gurdin to Russian parents, Natalie made her mark as a 9-year-old co-star in Miracle on 34th Street. After struggling through adolescence on a television series called Pride of the Family, she broke out for good as a young adult opposite James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. In 1961, the success of West Side Story vaulted petite and doe-eyed Natalie to superstar status, and so began an insatiable public appetite for Natalie. The reports of her flamboyant lifestyle, huge salaries, and romantic escapades, her mansions and yachts, midnight swims, motorcycle rides, celebrity parties, and nightlife fueled the aura surrounding Natalie Wood. Heightening the mystique further, many of her film titles during this era were suggestive and controversial, and even though most were not critical successes, her films were consistent box office hits because of her star power. Natalie was wed 3 times, including twice to the same guy, actor Robert Wagner. At 19, she married him for 5 years, and then at 30, she married British producer Richard Gregson, with whom she stayed for 4 years and had a daughter. In 1973, when she was 35, Natalie and Robert married for the second time, but several years later, the marriage again began to crumble. One night in November 1981, after a swordfish dinner and a lot of wine at a posh restaurant on California's Catalina Island, Natalie and Robert, along with actor Christopher Walken, had been romantically linked to Natalie, and he was co-starring with her in Brainstorm, a science fiction film that would be released posthumously around midnight. Natalie excused herself and went to bed while the 2 drunken men carried on, sometimes arguing. Unable to sleep because the dinghy kept bumping into the vessel, it seems that she went out on the deck to tie it more securely, but inebriated from the night's refreshments, she accidentally slipped into the water. The Coast Guard found Natalie wearing bed socks and a short tartan nightie wrapped in a waterlogged red duvet, floating face down in the water offshore near Catalina's lava caves. Robert and Walken, as well as the yacht's captain, who had been sleeping in his cabin, were separately interrogated, and their testimony was found to be fairly consistent. Bruises found on Natalie's arms and hands were believed to have been a result of her struggles to climb back aboard the vessel. Though her death was ruled an accidental drowning, the three men's versions of the night's events never quite jived, and many believe that one of them has been less than completely truthful. 40 years on, some look askance at Wagner, cautiously suspicious of a more nefarious role he may have played in Natalie's untimely death. Robert had named their yacht Splendor after the 1961 movie Splendor in the Grass, for which Natalie was nominated for an Oscar. It was an odd gesture since, during its filming, Natalie had fallen for the routine seductions of co-star Warren Beatty, which led to the breakup of her first marriage with Robert. Even more ironic, in Splendor in the Grass, Natalie played a girl who tried to drown herself. Natalie was 43 and was buried at Westwood Memorial Park in Los Angeles. Grave directions: behind the office complex at 10850 Wilshire Boulevard. Natalie's marker is in the central lawn of the cemetery. Counting from the drive bordering the top of the lawn, it's in the 5th row, approximately in the middle. Yo, I am going to pull the plug there because these were two sad stories, extremely sad, especially the gorilla one for me. I love my animals. Yeah, that was heartbreaking. But anyway, sorry to leave you on such a glum note. Terrible. Until my next video, know that I love you. Be well, be good, and I'll read to you.